This is the Huntsman Mini Analog, a 60% keyboard from Gaming Goliath's Razer. This retails for £149.99p, and they say that good things come in small packages. Let's put that to the test and see if this little keyboard's any good. Hey guys, I'm Matt and welcome to my review of the Huntsman Mini Analog from Razer. As I said in the intro, this is a 60% gaming keyboard. It's got adjustable actuation on each of the optical switches. It's got double shot PBT keycaps. It's got RGB backlighting on all of the keys, and it has a nice, sleek, stealthy black design. Let's go into it in more detail, have a look at it, have a look at the design and the features, and I'll let you know my thoughts at the end of the video. So let's kick things off with a quick unboxing. It's pretty standard stuff as far as the box goes for this keyboard, with a picture of the product on the front and a lot of the key features listed on the back of the box. Upon opening the box, you'll find the keyboard and a 1.8 meter braided USB Type-C to USB Type-A cable. I'm really glad that Razer went with USB Type-C for this keyboard. There's not a micro USB port in sight. Tucked away in the lid, you'll find the usual warranty card, documents, and a few Razer stickers, which I'm not too sure why brands keep sticking these in the box. I've got absolutely loads of them dotted around my house from stuff I've bought over the years. I never stick them to anything. Do you guys use them? Let us know in the comments. What do you stick these stickers to? Maybe give me some inspiration and you might see a couple stuck to some stuff behind me in future videos. And that's it. Disappointingly, that's it. There's no more accessories. You just get the keyboard and the cable. And I would have liked to have seen perhaps some WASD keys, maybe an escape key, especially on a 60% keyboard that comes in at this price point. Right, so let's have a look at the design of the Huntsman Mini Analog. And without its RGB turned on, this board has a stealthy all black design, which looks really clean. There's no over the top branding. And being a 60% keyboard, it's got a really small footprint on your desk. It doesn't take up much space at all, which doesn't leave much room for doing anything with the design, to be fair. Not just Razer, any brands of 60% keyboards. With a frame this small that only just houses the keys, there's not much that can be done. And I'm glad that they didn't try and do anything because I like the simplistic look in a keyboard, and I think this fits the bill. Now the backplate of the keyboard is made from aluminium, and it's got a kind of powder coated finish. It looks and feels really, really nice and premium and solid, and it protrudes a couple of millimeters out around all of the edges of the board. It looks really, really sleek in my opinion. There's a very small, slightly embossed Razer logo along the front edge of the Huntsman Mini Analog, which in my opinion looks pretty nice. It's small enough to not be too in your face, and it isn't backlit, which I think was the right choice. If this had been RGB backlit when the RGB's turned on, it would have looked a little tacky in my opinion. I much prefer the minimal look when companies brand their products. Now the bottom of the board is surprisingly made of plastic, which was probably done to keep the weight and production costs down. Still though, I really like the design that Razer went with here. It's finished with their tagline, "For gamers by gamers," printed in diagonal lines which cover the whole base plate. Granted, it's going to be hidden away most of the time, but it's a nice unique touch that adds something different to the design. The adjustable feet are nothing out of the ordinary. They're just keyboard feet. They have two different angles. They do the job. It's pretty standard stuff. The USB-C connection port is recessed so that the cable sits flush with the top and the bottom of the base plate, which looks much better than having the connector sticking out on top of the board. It's little design touches like this that I really appreciate from brands. I spend a lot of time trying to get my setup to look as clean and minimal as possible, and little things like this go a long way in helping to achieve that. One thing I have to mention is that this keyboard sits quite high off the desk and there isn't a wrist rest included. I feel like a keyboard of this height and design should definitely include some wrist support, as fatigue may become an issue when using it continuously for a long period of time. Now let's look at the build quality of the Huntsman Mini Analog. The build quality of this thing is absolutely solid all round. There's absolutely zero flex. There's a very, very, very minimal amount, and I'm applying quite a bit of pressure there. This is due to the frame being quite small, which keeps things really rigid. The keycaps are made from double shot PBT plastic and they feel very, very robust to the touch. Just looking at them, you can see that they're really good quality. I've got every confidence that these keycaps are going to last a long time. The included braided cable feels really tough and is quite thick. It's immediately obvious that when you get this out of the box, it's a really good quality cable. The only downside is that the kinks from packaging may take a little while to straighten out until it lies flat on your desk. Now let's talk about the switches inside the Huntsman Mini Analog. Now some of you may be watching this video and thinking, what's the difference between this and the regular Huntsman Mini? And you'd be right in thinking that, because they're pretty much the same keyboard, looking almost identical. The key difference, pardon the pun, is the switches. The Huntsman Mini Analog gets its name from the switches found inside, which are Razer's analog optical switches. There are other variations of this board available with optical clicky and optical linear switches. However, they don't have the level of customization that you'll get with the analog switches found inside this board. The level of actuation can be adjusted on a per key basis using Razer's Synapse software, which I'll touch on later in the video, with the minimum being 1.5mm, going up to a maximum actuation distance of 3.6mm. Now this may not be as low as some people may have hoped, myself included, but we checked with Razer and this is actually a hardware limitation of this switch, and this is the lowest actuation distance that these switches are capable of. This is marginally overcome by the lack of any switch debounce delay as seen on all regular mechanical switches, with the optical components in these switches shaving off roughly 1 millisecond on average in response time. Now overall the switches feel really nice when typing and gaming, and I've been enjoying using this board for the past 2 weeks or so. There aren't any clicks and there isn't any tactile feedback. These switches feel a lot like linears, but the board is a tad noisy, almost sounding slightly hollow. Here's a quick sound test so you can hear what I mean. Let's look at the RGB. As I've already mentioned, the Huntsman Mini Analog has per key RGB backlighting, and it's okay at best. When looking at the keyboard from a standard sitting angle, the lighting is only really visible through the legends of the keycaps, and it's not until you look at it from a more top-down vertical perspective that you can see the glow emitted underneath the keycaps and in between the keys. And throw in the fact that some of the keys on this unit that I've got for review just do not let the light through evenly at all. My escape key and at key in particular really add some very noticeable dark spots to the RGB that you can notice from some distance away. And this just reminds me of RGB effects I've seen on much cheaper keyboards. I would have liked to have seen a bit better quality control on the keycap production to just allow for a more even distribution of light. Let's quickly touch on the software for the Huntsman Mini Analog. If any of you have used Razer's products before, then you'll be familiar with Razer's Synapse software. If you haven't, this is the software that you'll download and use to customize and set up all the options on this, along with many other of Razer's products. Now this software is okay. I've never been blown away by it, but it does get the job done. And it's fairly simple to use. For the Huntsman Mini Analog specifically, you'll have some quite extensive options relating to the switches found inside this keyboard. As I mentioned earlier in the video, the actuation can be adjusted for each key individually, and the ability to sync a key's settings to the rest of the keys with one click was a really nice quality of life touch that saves some time and is really convenient. Now each switch can also have 2 actions assigned to it. You can choose to add a delay in between the 2 chosen actions when building a macro with Synapse. This is certainly something different than we're used to seeing on keyboards, but in all honesty, I'd probably never use this feature. It feels a little gimmicky. On the other hand, the analog joystick and controller emulation features are really cool though. They basically allow you to configure chosen keys to be pressure sensitive, similar to the joysticks and triggers found on a PlayStation or an Xbox controller. Now keys configured and set up like this will respond to how hard you press them. This allows you to feather the input when steering in racing games, or walk and run with one key in RPGs and shooters. In conclusion, I feel that the Huntsman Mini Analog is a good keyboard. It has excellent build quality and really smooth switches. The ability to set the keys to be pressure sensitive is a very cool feature that a lot of gamers will find useful. I'd love to have seen some more included accessories, most of all a wrist rest, as this isn't the most ergonomic keyboard I've ever used, but if you're after something a bit different, then this might be the keyboard for you. Leave us a comment down below and let us know what you think of the Huntsman Mini Analog. And if you want to pick up some Kit Guru merch, like this t-shirt that I'm wearing now, then there'll be a link in the description below. Subscribe to the channel if you want to keep up on the latest PC gaming news and reviews. Anyway, I've been Matt for Kit Guru. I'll catch you in the next one. See you later.